All right, let's move on down to the lip. For the lip, the first thing you want to think about is does the position and the shape looks good, right? The basic stuff. So you can go to the side view and front view and all different angles and see if it does looks good. I think the general shape is okay, but I kind of don't like the connection here. Like I think it needs to be more smooth. So I'm gonna fill in a little bit more volume here. Smooth that out. Okay. And here I can also just smooth it out because it has a lot of geometry shape over there, which is from the low resolution model. Okay. All right. So let me spend some time to refine the connection here. Okay. And the contour. I think the lower lip is going down too much. So I'm gonna drag it out. Okay. And of course, the surroundings. And then the corner, right? Just be really careful about where does it ends, right? Does it go up like this or does it go down like that? Now that could be different for different characters, so you want to be to pay enough attention on that part, because that little thing really tells the characteristic of your character. So make sure that you handle that very carefully. All right. So after that, I'm gonna go and try to dig in and see the internal up and downs. But let me make this part more visible again. Okay. So internally speaking, we have one big budge in the middle for the upper lip, and also two smaller budges over there. Okay. So we can try to do that. Let me make this part a little bit more visible using damp standard and Alt button, right? And let me fill in a little bit more volume here, just to give the tip more three-dimensional arc. Okay, then smooth that out. And also this area, I wanted to also make sure that the shape is correct. Okay. And moving on to the side, you can see this is pretty flat. If you look at your reference, at least it's arced this way, right? So instead of a straight line, it should be like an arc. Okay. So you can fill that in and think about how the contour changes. Okay. And think about how does it connect to other parts, right? Blocking those volumes. So one thing I think people are missing is, especially for beginners, you're seeing a two-dimensional shape, but you understand it in the three-dimensional way. So like you not only you see, oops, you're not only seeing this and that, you're seeing this, and you're seeing this up, down, up, down, up, right? Those three-dimensional curvature of the shape, right? Those are the important things too. And that's what the next level of detail is, not creating the winkles, right? Those are something later, but for now what you want to pay attention are those secondary up and downs, volumes, budges, whatever you wanted to call them. Okay. And those things, you can remember those as, you know, secondary anatomy, whatever, but the reality is you can't really remember everything. So it would be nicer to have a reference. Okay, so I'm trying to draw out this line here. This is more like a high ground I see, or the highlight I see on the lip. So I think that's gonna be the high ground. So I'm gonna drag it out of there to make this part just sticking out more. Okay, you can see I'm separating the model into basically a top face like that, and the other faces around it. Of course, that's not going to be, you know, that sharp, but that's how I understand it. I hope you can see it. And of course, it's going to be rounded out, but that's the high ground, right? That's the high ground over there. I pay more attention on these things. Try to be able to spot those important shapes, right? Those important up and downs, right? So you can really got it. Let me actually fill in a little bit more volume here. I think it's dipping in too much. Okay. All right. And then I can see if I like the thickness here. Let me maybe give it a little bit more volume from the bottom view. Okay. I wanted to just make it more prominent. Now you can see sometimes I use move brush because that's gonna really help me to try to define the bigger shapes, right? Kind of wanted to make this guy a little bit sharper on the top. Okay. Alright. And of course the surroundings. I think my reference doesn't have a lot of a visible structure of here. It's subtle, so I'm not gonna make it more visible. Sometimes you learn the structure of the anatomy, you try to, you know, apply that for on all the characters you do. Sometimes you don't really see those becomes very strong. So I would say, you know, they're there, but they're not as strong. Think about the intensity of different part also. Like the prominent part, like the eye, the nose, and the mouth. Those are the more visible structures, and there are other structures around the mouth like that, right? If you make it too strong like this, then you got the correct anatomy, but you got the wrong intensity, right? So they're there, but they're subtle. Okay, try to imagine, or you know, figure out the different degrees of intensities, right? It's not just understand where they are, but also their relationship. Which one is stronger? Which one is weaker? How do they connect? Where do they go? Where do they come from? Right, those kind of things. You can see I'm now tweaking the cheekbone again. I think I kind of need to just give it a little bit more volume down here, and the connection to the back. Okay. I'm thinking about the structure here. I think my character is having this arc going in. I think this part is like a low ground. Okay, but I don't really want that to be as big as it. So one thing I can do is use move brush, hold it down Alt and drag, then push it out a little bit. Okay, kind of want it to be not dipping in that much. Okay. All right. The connection here to the back. And go to the side view, right? I'm thinking, okay, this doesn't feel quite correct. Let me refine it a little bit. Maybe that's because I moved the mouse forward too much, so I'm gonna push it back. You can see it's very easy to destroy the overall silhouette. Like I pushed the lip forward because I think it needs to be stronger. Now when I look at it, I'm thinking, okay, maybe that's too much. So I'll bring it back a little bit. All right. Kind of wanted to smooth that out. Okay. Maybe push that in just a little bit. Subtle changes sometimes. It doesn't have to be changing a lot. Based on, of course, the reference you're using. Okay, so maybe I can make this part just a little bit more visible, stronger here. Sometimes when you're sculpting, you can look at this particular angle. You can see how does it look like, right? How does everything goes up and down. Right? Thinking that that part can be a little bit more stronger. I can use edge polish now to refine it. Okay, I think I need to see more bone structure on the side. This double eyelid seems to be a little bit too thin, so let me just plug in a little bit more volume. Okay. So again, think about the three-dimensional curvature that sometimes you're missing. Okay. All right. Oops. ZBrush does this auto save thing, so sometimes it just saves it. Okay, don't worry about that. Thinking about defining the structure here, you know that the muscle is connected, that this way it goes below the bridge of here and connect to there, right? Those muscle structures. You can have a little bit of that down the way, right? Just try to make it complete. Alright, and then moving on down to the ear, you can spend a little bit more time on it. The ear is important not because it's the important thing, but rather when it's not looking good, it's just going to make your model looks really bad. So you kind of want it to make it good if you can. So I'm going to use stem standard to carve in the internal part, make them go in a little bit more, smooth that out. And this part is going to go in and somehow connect it to the middle of here. Right, smooth that out. And you want to do the carving in part. Okay. All right. And this middle part does have a branch in the front, so you can push those guys in using damp standard and smooth these out. You can even carve that in a little bit on the side just to make the Y shape here in the middle more visible. Okay. All right. And I think it should be a little bit more thinner, so let me drag things around. If you look at different people's ear, you can also see a lot of variations. It's not gonna be the same for different people, so you probably also wanted to find a reference and follow that. Okay, let me refine it from the front view. And here at the very end, you kind of have a little budge up here, right? And you have another budge on the other side. And sometimes they connect like this. And sometimes you have a bigger gap in the middle. That's all variations you can pay attention to. For different people, they're gonna look different. Okay. and that's of course where the hole is. So again, push that in. Right. Alright, so that's 15 minutes of work again, but 50 minutes is nothing when it comes to sculpting. You still need to spend a lot of more time in the process. So let's actually go ahead and do more refining down the way in the next video. Just to do one more pass of refining. Again, patience is important. You don't want it to move into the next stage if the current stage is not good enough yet. So that's going to be another video that I'm going to go a fast forward, and it's going to be me tweaking the shape. And you can either just look at it through it real quick. You can play it even in twice speed. But just want to show you the entire process. So I'm going to go through that, and then maybe we'll be talking also in the background. Okay, but it's generally gonna, keep doing this stage and try to make the shape better gradually. Okay, see you next time.